What would it be like to leave this world in a fiery chariot from heaven? It sounds like something straight out of a blockbuster movie, but it's a true story about one of the most incredible events in history. Let's talk about the prophet Elijah and his amazing departure. Elijah was a man who lived thousands of years ago. He was a prophet, which means he was a special messenger for God. In a time when many people had forgotten about God and were following their own paths, Elijah stood firm. He was bold, he was brave, and he was completely dedicated to serving God. Because of his faithfulness, God did some truly powerful things through him. But like all good stories, Elijah's time on earth was coming to an end. However, he wasn't going to leave in an ordinary way. God had a spectacular plan in store for him. Elijah knew his final day was near. He was traveling with his successor, a younger prophet named Elisha. Elisha wasn't just Elijah's student, he was his dear friend. They walked together, and along the way, other prophets they met seemed to sense that something big was about to happen. They would ask Elisha, "Do you know that the Lord is going to take your master from you today?" And Elisha, full of emotion, would say, "Yes, I know, but be quiet." He didn't want to talk about it. He just wanted to spend every last moment with his mentor. Elijah tried to get Elisha to stay behind a few times, perhaps to spare him the pain of saying goodbye. But Elisha was loyal. He refused to leave. He told Elijah, "As surely as the Lord lives, and as you live, I will not leave you." He was determined to be there until the very end, showing the depth of his love and respect for the man who had taught him so much. Finally, as they neared their destination, Elijah turned to his faithful friend and asked a profound question. "Tell me, what can I do for you before I am taken from you?" Think about that. What would you ask for in a moment like that? Elisha didn't ask for money, fame, or an easy life. He asked for something far more valuable. He said, "Let me inherit a double portion of your spirit." Now, this wasn't about wanting to be twice as good as Elijah. In that culture, the oldest son received a double portion of the father's inheritance, signifying he would carry on the family name and responsibilities. Elisha was asking to be recognized as Elijah's true spiritual successor. He was saying, "I want to have the same heart, the same courage, and the same reliance on God's power that you had, so I can continue the important work you started." Elijah told him, "You have asked a difficult thing, yet if you see me when I am taken from you, it will be yours." This was the test. Elisha had to keep his eyes fixed on his master, to be present and watchful in that final critical moment. And then it happened. As they were walking and talking, suddenly a chariot of fire and horses of fire appeared and separated the two of them. It wasn't scary or violent. It was a glorious, breathtaking display of heavenly power. And in a whirlwind, Elijah was taken up into heaven. He didn't face death. He was simply escorted into God's presence in the most magnificent way imaginable. Elisha watched it all. He saw the fiery chariot, he saw the whirlwind, and he saw his beloved friend ascend. Overcome with a mix of awe and grief, he cried out, my father, the chariots and horsemen of Israel." He was acknowledging that Elijah was more than a man. He was a spiritual army for the nation. As he watched, he saw Elijah's cloak fall to the ground. Elisha picked it up. This wasn't just an old piece of clothing. It was a symbol. It was a sign that the mantle of leadership, the spirit of prophecy, had been passed to him. To prove that God's power was now with him, Elisha went to the Jordan River, the same river he and Elijah had just miraculously crossed. He took Elijah's cloak, struck the water, and said, "Where now is the Lord, the God of Elijah?" And just as before, the water parted, and Elisha walked across on dry ground. God's work would continue. The mission was not over. So what can we learn from this incredible story? First, God's power is real, and his promises are true. Second, it shows us that God's work is bigger than any one person. When one faithful servant completes their mission, God always raises up another to carry the torch. Maybe you've had a mentor, a pastor, a teacher, or even a family member who has moved on or is no longer with you. It's natural to feel a sense of loss, to wonder how things will continue. This story reminds us that even when people we rely on are gone, God is not. He is still with us, and he can empower us to continue doing good in the world, just as he empowered Elisha. God can use you right where you are to carry on a legacy of faith and love. Thanks so much for watching. If this story encouraged you, please give this video a like. Subscribe to our channel for more content like this. and share it with someone who might need a reminder that God's plan and power are always at work. See you next time.